prayed this prayer before, but Lord, I just wanna be sure. Am I really forgiven? My mind keeps reliving the hurtful things I've said and done. Can't get a wink of sleep at night from thoughts of things I didn't do right. You said I am free, but how do I forgive me? I can't let it go, I'm undone. But you sacrificed for someone's wrongs. Now I see that I was the one. Every nail you took erased my past and it's over. Gotta let it go. Your love unconditional has washed me and made me whole.
How y'all doing?
Gotta let it go. I'm a new creation now.
Aaron, what's good, man?
To completely forgive me, you held me, I'm free. You love me now, so help me to see what you see. Not perfect, but perfect.
Come on in, come on in. What's up, y'all? Yo, Simone, what's good?
Thank you for not being like a man, but sometimes it's hard for me to understand.
Y'all come on in.
How your grace is so
Invite people in too.
that I could keep living.
It's gonna be a dope session tonight.
Condemnation or shame, but you sacrificed for someone.
Jasmine Alonzo, I appreciate that, man.
I was the one. Every nail you took erased my past. Now it's over. Gotta let it go. Your love
Amira, what's good?
has washed me and made me whole.
Where the kids at?
I'm a new creation, no condemnation.
Simone, I appreciate that.
To completely forgive me, you held me, I'm free. You love
Yo,
me
yo.
now, so help me to see what you see. Not perfect, but perfectly. I'm a new creature, no longer the same. I'm permanently rearranged. My past
Y'all come on in. I appreciate y'all sharing it. Keep inviting people. We're gonna get started in a second. Yup. Give y'all that phone in a
So
second.
help me to see what you see in me. You perfected me.
Oh, hi.
Jasmine, what's
Woo!
up?
I didn't know I had to turn it sideways.
Ah.
Hey. There we go. Hi, everybody.
You doing good today, Jasmine?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. Fantastic.
Good.
I
I'm
am
excited
wonderful.
to be here.
Yes, ma'am. All right, we're going to get started. Y'all, we have Jazmin Crumley in the house today. I thank you for accepting it and coming on. You're super dope. I watched you from afar, and I've seen nothing but greatness. Jazmin is a Jazmin is a vocal coach. She's a background vocalist. She's a vocal director slash arranger. And solo artist. Yes, to answer you all's question, I was going to do it right now. That was her single actually called Perfected Me. It's her current single out right now. So go check it out. It's really dope, as you heard. I enjoy it. You all, again, this is Industry Insiders for anybody that's trying to be in the music industry in any capacity. We have vocal directors, music directors. We have background vocalists. We have people that are going to talk about music business. So anybody that's trying to be in the music industry in any capacity, just go ahead and invite them. Tonight's really going to be dope. Jazmin, how about tell us a little bit about yourself?
Ooh, hi everybody. So my name is Jazmin Crumley. I am a vocal coach in Atlanta, Georgia, and I own a vocal coaching company called The Outlet for Vocal Expression. And I pretty much do all things vocal. Outside of vocal coaching, I've worked for the last, a lot of years as a background vocalist. So I take a lot of, pride, pleasure in the things that God has allowed me to do. So I'm just really, really grateful to be invited here to share, a piece of my journey, my stories. A lot of people ask me a lot of different questions about a lot of different things in the music industry. So I'm glad to be able to, share this on such a great platform. So that's me.
Dope. To give you all a bit of a background, you see artists kind of saying some vague things on social media, and sometimes people that are in the industry, you don't really see that they're that much active on social media. But from Jazmin, I've been able to gain a lot of knowledge. She's done a lot of videos, and not just like 10 minutes. She's done videos where she is labored. She's very professional. That's what I love about her. That was the first thing I loved about her. No, I'm not saying that. I love the videos. She's very professional. That's what I picked up at first. She seems like she's very prepared. I didn't even know her, but from afar, she just seemed like she was just on it. She's just perfect for every situation. Now, Jazmin, you've worked with a ton of top artists. Kirk Franklin. We have Music Soul Child. We have Avery Sunshine. A ton of people. And you also worked with Oprah on Greenleaf. Now, tell us this. For you to get there, give us just, a brief synopsis of your journey to get to where you are now, from where you started to where you are now.
I would definitely say, people always ask, when did you start singing? And my response is, I don't remember not singing ever. I don't remember a time when I didn't sing. So of course I started in church, and I sang in the choir, that type of thing. But it wasn't until I got to high school, I might have been about 15, when I got serious about wanting to pursue music. And I decided to audition to go to a performing arts high school. And so I auditioned, I got into the school, and shout out to DSA. Very proud. It's still one of the top schools in Georgia. So it was an honor to be able to go there. And there I started to learn more about music theory. That's where I started in theater and show choir and just every aspect of music. I pretty much started to dive into when I got there. So from there, I went to college at Georgia State University, and I was a part of the School of Music. And briefly, I basically got in the gospel choir at Georgia State University. And basically, the head of the choir, the leader of the choir, was going to record an album, like the choir's album. And I had only been in the choir for a short time.
Okay.
But I decided to get in the choir, and I started to record that album. And he was bringing other singers in to help record the choir's album. Well, it just so happened that the other singers were also like recording artists and working background singers and that type of thing. And I had no idea.
Okay.
And come to find out, you know, when it was time for some of those artists to work on their gigs and do what they were already doing, if they would need another singer, they called me. So basically, you know, I did my job in the studio, and that was my first time ever being in the studio. So basically, I did my job apparently fairly well in the studio at the time. And so when they needed a singer, they called, and from that, things just kind of kept rolling. So I think once you kind of build a reputation of good work and professionalism and skill and good character and that type of thing, you know, people see that they can trust you. And so different things come out of that. I always say, you know, the more opportunities or the more things you do, the more things you get, you know. So people see it and they trust it and they call you for it.
What it seems like from what you're saying, from what I could gather, is that preparation is the key thing that causes trust. And it seems like when the opportunity was given, you were prepared for it, and that's why they entrusted you to do different things. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, absolutely. Preparation, and I think there are a lot of other characteristics, especially when you're working with people that are taking a chance on you. It's really important that you be not only prepared, but professional in your character and your spirit, you know, your attitude. You have to come on the scene ready to work, you know, ready to do whatever, not thinking you know everything, but, you know, just come in ready to be a part of the team. So I think it's important, the kind of energy, your vibe that you give off. So there are a lot of
and I mentioned that I thought about that one time before. And the reason why I thought about it was because when I talked to you recently, and even when you just got on just now, your personality just overtakes whatever room you walk into. And I think that's a great characteristic when it comes to trying to get hired and trying to be on. I think that's an awesome characteristic. It has absolutely nothing to do with music, how good of a singer you are. I'm just like, dang, I want to be around Jazmin. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I appreciate it.
She got it. All right, so we're going to jump right into it. I have something that I think would be dope because you're a gospel artist, and you're on a lot of sides of music. You don't just do church music, but you do church music as well. Considering that, can you tell us a little bit about, or just expound on it, the balance between artistry and ministry? Because you are artist, you have been on the stage with major artists. I forgot Usher. You've been on the stage with Usher, and you've been on the stage with Kirk. Now, I personally feel like Kirk is like, he still got stage presence, he got energy, he got everything, and Usher does as well. But the two differences are, one is ministry and one is just purely entertainment. Now, tell us since you know those things, tell us what is your approach, or even if you're even thinking about it, when you go on stage and you are in a setting where maybe you're at church or you're at a gospel concert. Give us just your thoughts on the balance between artistry and ministry and stage presence.
I guess there are a lot of different avenues I could take in that. But I will say this, ministry should never be about entertainment. Ever. That's never the goal. Witchcraft. That's never the goal. That should never be the focus. Unfortunately, a lot of times we do get, every now and again, people sing about God, but the focus is still them, So I don't believe that any aspect of ministry should be about you being in the forefront. Artistry is about entertainment, but you can be a minister and an artist at the same time. Kirk Franklin ministers, but he's also very much so an artist. He has a brand, he has an image, he has a sound, you know, he is a business as well as, you know, a ministry. And so I think you just have to know what your purpose is. You have to know what it is that God called you to do. Because a lot of people think that the two should never go hand in hand. And that's not necessarily true. You know, everybody who is a gospel artist is not a worship leader. You know, so you kind of, and every worship leader is not an artist, you know, and so you have to know what your purpose is, what your focus is, and what your lane is. Can you be a minister and an artist? Yes, but ministry should never just be entertainment, so to speak. So yeah.
Balance.
Yeah, it's all about balance and knowing what it is that you, again, are supposed to do. Because a lot of people are out here doing stuff that God didn't call them to do, and so we get caught up, you know, in the industry when He called us to ministry.
Now, question.
And so
I have a. I'm sorry to cut you off. I have a good question right now. I don't know how people are going to take this, but I have seen some people in church that kind of look like, hey, maybe you need to take that elsewhere. Like, and do you get what I'm saying when I say that? Meaning, like, there are some people that perform in church, but they really want to be on the stage with Usher. They really want to be in the secular world elsewhere. What would you say to that type of situation? Have you seen that type of situation?
Okay, so basically you're asking about people who live in church but really want to do secular work or secular music, or
yeah, and it seems like they're kind of more towards that. And I guess letting people know that if music is your career, it's okay to do it elsewhere if that's your career. Because some people
let me
saying,
say that.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Wait.
Uh
Everybody can't do both.
Right.
Really speak for myself. You know, there are still some gigs that I can't do because I'm a child of God. You know, so even now I'm very skeptical about the things that I accept. You know, I won't just do anything just because music is my career. You know, and so again, you have to know what it is that God called you to do, because everybody can't working in the secular music industry and all of the things that come with that and maintain their relationship with God, because it's not always an easy thing to do. And some people, if you're a baby Christian, that might not be the best idea for you to go out into this big world and you're unsure of yourself and your beliefs and that type of thing. You know, it's easy to be swayed in that way. And so you have to be really careful. You have to be really strong if you're a believer, you know, trying to step, because it's a big world, you know, trying to step into the world of secular music, I'll say. So yeah, I think again that it's important to really get to God and figure out what it is that you are supposed to be doing, because everybody can't do both. Everybody shouldn't do both. You know, you got to figure out where your light is supposed to shine. And for some people, it is in the church, because the church still needs the light.
Right.
You know? So it's not for everybody. So I'm not going to say that, you know, everybody or anybody, as long as you want to do music, you should do this or do that. You know, you have to find that out for yourself, because everybody does not belong there.
That's great stuff. And I think that's really, really important, especially coming from you, in the amount of work that you've done in so many different places. So I think that what you said was important. You all, again, this is Industry Insiders. We have Jazmin Crumley on, vocal coach, background vocalist, solo artist, vocal director. If you have anybody that you know that wants to work in the music industry in any capacity, go ahead and invite them now. Share the video, do all of that. All right, so let's get into this. Let's get into some vocal stuff. Now, we have some records. We have some records that are blended well. The vocals are blended well. Things are blended well in it. You can hear everything, but then if you need to hear certain details, maybe you can't hear them. Okay?
Okay.
And so you all, I know everybody isn't in the music industry on here. Just to clarify some things, if I say something like a mix is something that I would just use the word blend. Think about blending. A mix just blends the music, blends the vocals. I'll just say that as kind of like a general description of what that is. But the vocals are mixed down very, very well. You are singing for an artist and you can't hear the alto part. Tell us about what you do in those situations where you can't hear the specific parts in the vocals.
Okay, so basically, if I'm giving music to learn at home, you're saying if I can't really hear my part all that well, what do I do?
Exactly, yes.
Okay. First of all, hey Dante. Hey guys, Dante Hall is like one of my favorite singers ever in life. I just want to put that out there.
Really?
Hi. So typically what I would do, it kind of depends on the situation. It depends on who you're working with and what you can kind of get from them. But if I'm in a situation, because I have been given music where it's kind of difficult, not that it's not mixed well or something like that, but sometimes we just don't hear clearly exactly, what every little thing is doing. And so I'll give you what I kind of do on both sides.
Okay.
In a really professional situation where I'm giving music and I can't hear it all that well, I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can on my own. Period. I'm going to be as totally prepared as I can possibly be. So I'm gonna, hey Coco and Asia, I'm going to learn, one thing that I tend to do if I can't hear, say I'm learning the alto part and I can't hear it all that well, what I'm going to do is listen for and learn the soprano part. Because typically, even if you can't, sometimes the alto is more difficult to hear because it lays right in the middle. And so a lot of times what I do, because you can pick out the highest part a lot of times out of the backgrounds, or maybe even the lowest part. So I might listen to the soprano part and learn that part, or I might listen to the tenor part and learn that because that's a little bit easier. And then because of what I hear and the chord structures and progressions, I'll be able to know better what my part is if I know what your part is, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I typically learn or listen to all the parts when I'm listening to music. It helps me to better know what I should be doing. On the other hand, I've also been in situations where that's happened and I've been a little bit closer to the artist. And, I might hit them up and say, hey, what's this part right here? Or, sing this to me or something like that. If you're that close, then you can do that. But if not, learn as much as you can. And when you get together for rehearsals, because the rehearsal is not for learning music, but rehearsals are for tweaking and the things that you've already learned out. It's really important that those are not for learning music, especially not in a professional situation.
Come on, Doc.
So you come knowing your music, and so I learn as much as I can, and then when we get to rehearsal, then we iron it out and I ask my questions if I still have questions.
Okay, cool. So I felt like that could help some people because you do get in situations where you can't hear specific parts, and you said learn all the parts. Y'all heard it from her. Learn all the parts. Learn all the parts. Every song you do.
I mean, okay. I'm not. Okay, I do learn all the parts, but
well, you're a vocal director though. You usually get into situations where you're arranging.
For structure and what's played in the music, that should help you to be able to pick out, your own part, right? If you're actually listening to what the music is doing, you shouldn't be totally lost. Even when I don't hear exactly what's going on, I hear about 2 or 3 possible options.
Right. And what you said is correct. You shouldn't be totally lost. Like, if this is what you do, you should not be totally lost,
Right. Same goes for musicians. Exactly. Yes.
Right. I want to get into something real quick, because I feel like I told you before. I think you're super dope. From what I see on social media, you're moving, you're working, but you know that the music industry and anybody that's in the music industry, you all know that the industry can be very, very, very rewarding. We can feel like we up here one day, and then the next day we like not doing so well. You know, so the industry can be very rewarding and it can be lonely. So I had a question. The question is, tell us
Mm-hmm.
about the discipline it takes to deal with the emotional highs and lows of being hired or unemployed as a musician.
Okay. Um, I've experienced both sides. Let me say that. The first
Okay.
thing you got to know is if things aren't going the way that you want them to go at that moment, if you're not working the way you want to be working at that moment, or if you're watching everybody else, it seems like they're touring all over the world and you're at home on the couch, it may not be a testament to your skill set or your skill level. So it's not always because, I'm not good enough. Sometimes that's just not where you're supposed to be at that moment.
Right.
Sometimes things just aren't open at that moment. It might not be the season for that. It might not be touring season. So, there could be several different factors. Um, there may also be situations where, the people or persons that you're working for, may have decided to take a break. If your boss takes a break, then what are you doing? They might decide to
Nothing.
take a break for a few years and not do any music.
You chilling.
What are you doing? Or they may not be able to afford you at that moment. Things happen. And so while I love what I do and I appreciate every opportunity that I get to do it, and it is rewarding. I love it, from my heart. I love being a vocal coach and I love being a background singer. I love traveling. So it does provide some sort of, I think we get too caught up in the validation that our careers or our jobs give us. And so we feel like when we're not working, we're nothing, or we don't count in the world of music or in the industry or whatever else. It's like you're only as
That's
good
just
as
being
what
honest.
you just recently did. So first of all, your career doesn't validate who you are. you know,
That's good.
you're still who God created you to be. And if you're at home, it could be because there's something you need to be doing at home that you've not yet accomplished.
Right.
So if you're at home, figure out why you're at home. Maybe there's something that you need to do at the local church. Maybe there's something that those people need that only you have and that only you can provide. But if you're
Right.
focused on being out touring, a whole group of people totally and completely miss what it is that God was attempting to give to them because you were
That's good.
disobedient and trying to be all over everywhere. So you have to
And I
understand
think that
that
takes maturity and discipline, what
it
you just
oh
said.
it does.
It's
It
not,
does.
that's not easy, especially like I'm looking at, there's two sides of the spectrum. You have one side where somebody comes up and maybe through church, that's typically how it happens. They learn, they start getting involved, then they may branch out. But when we have the other side of the spectrum, and I went to school for music as well, but looking at you, you started so young. Having that knowledge musically, you're just kind of like, bro, I need to venture out. Like I need to take this elsewhere. Like I need to be doing something. And you've done all of that, and then you sitting at home, you like, wait a minute, hold up,
It's
Jesus,
a
let
real
me
thing,
hold on. So you,
it's a real thing. Even the best of singers and musicians sometimes have a dry period, where things aren't coming in as quickly or as fluently as we would like for them to. And so let me say this: musicians, singer, creatives, period. Learn how to save your money and learn how to invest your money. We gotta do better, you know. And a lot of times we focus on looking like something, So we spend our money on clothes and shoes and name brands and,
How many award shows have you been to, Jazmin?
Not a whole lot.
I'm just saying that's typical. You know how that stuff.
I know, but I will say, we have to be wise. We have to be really, really wise, because if you're living, paycheck to paycheck, but that paycheck stops coming in for whatever reason, what are you going to do? You should never be at a point to where, missing out on this gig or losing this gig or something like that just totally destroys you. Figure out how you can make your creativity and your gifts work for you. How you can build your business or your brand based on what you do. How you can take whatever you do and create more income for yourself.
Right. I'm laughing. I hear what you're saying. The only reason I'm laughing is because my friend Aaron said how many people get them returns from them outfits they got for the award shows.
Oh,
hilarious. No. Again, you guys, this is Industry Insiders. Anybody that wants to be in the music industry in any capacity, go ahead and invite them. Go ahead and share this video. Real quick, I do want to do a little plug, because we're talking about being financially stable and not living gig to gig, which is dangerous. Jazmin Crumley is the CEO of the outlet for vocal expression. If you are trying to be a great vocalist, go hit her up. She's in Atlanta. She can travel to your church. She can do she'll come lay hands.
Oh my. Wait a minute.
She'll come lay hands on the vocal cords.
Oh my. I'm
No,
on Skype as well.
All right,
for anybody who, doesn't live in Atlanta or doesn't live close to me, I do offer Skype lessons, so I can meet anybody from anywhere in the world. So there's never an excuse, guys.
Dope. No, Jazmin don't take excuses. She doesn't.
Never. There's one of my Coco said FaceTime too. I do also do FaceTime. I see them every week on FaceTime. Hi.
Dope. So that's one example of you setting yourself up. That's something that you love to do, and it's not dependent on if you got a gig or not. That's that's your own company. That's and I think that's awesome. I do want to talk about this real quick. I thought it was very impressive, and I see you up there. And I thought that was dope. Tell us a little bit about that experience. That's a part of Oprah's network. Tell us a little bit about that experience. And you worked on the soundtrack too.
Yeah, so primarily the soundtrack was really the big thing for me. It was all huge though. Honestly, and I'll kind of put it out there like this. So I was watching the first season of Greenleaf last year, and I was watching it, and I was sitting in my room by myself. Nobody else was there. And I said, I guess to myself or to God, man, I think I would like to do that. And I thought to myself, but I would like to work on the music for the show. Like if I could be a singer, like for the actual music, the vocals for the show, I thought, man, that would be really, really cool. I would like to do that. I said, well, really, I would like to be on screen too. This is like just the conversation that's happening in my head while I'm sitting in my room watching TV. And so that, I don't know, that might have been last summer, fall, something like that. I just kind of put it out there. I thought it and just put it out there. And I guess God heard me. In November, I was on a trip for my birthday, and one of my friends called and said, hey, what are you doing these dates? I got something I really need you for. And I said, okay, what is it? And when they told me it was for Greenleaf, to do some recording on the soundtrack, I said, Like, this can't be real.
Edible Shakando by.
I said, this cannot
Word.
be real. I said, are you kidding me? And so he said, well, here's the thing. You know, they're looking for kind of like certain looks, that type of thing. And I'm like, you know, why does the look matter if I'm going to be recording a soundtrack? He said, well, because they're going to need, you know, some singers for the show on screen. And I said, you know, so that really, that was God. For the last few years, and faith plug, for the last few years, just about everything that I have said, like spoken with my mouth, that I wanted to do, or really even thought that I wanted to do, I've pretty much done it.
That's dope,
so,
man. That's
I mean,
dope.
it sounds crazy, but I kid you not. I wish my parents were here to validate or co-sign what I'm saying, because a lot of the things that I've said, they've been there when I said them, and they often remind me, you remember when you said you wanted to do this and you actually did, you know. It's crazy, you know. So all God, you know, I'm grateful to have been a part, and it was really just an amazing experience to get to meet people that, because sometimes I don't know if we get the big head, but we kind of think we know everybody in our area that's working, or I've already met all the people in my, man, there are people that you have never met in your own area that are killing.
Exactly.
You know, they just ain't worried about being in your circle. They're worried about working, you know.
Right.
So there's so many people probably in your own area that you still need to get to know, you know, and they don't get out, and they're not worried, you don't see their faces a lot, but nah, they don't care at all. They ain't gotta know who is who, yeah. You know. Jazmin. And of course they have to build connections and relationships, but.
And I just thought about something. You see so many times that people really do like click up and stuff like that, and it's just like, bro, we just trying to work. We just trying to work, and people click up, and it really doesn't make any sense to me. But don't be worried about that. Just work.
Just work. Now, hold on, wait. Let me say this while we're there. People wonder how you get to do certain things, and you know, relationships are everything in the music industry, because there will not always be auditions. In fact,
right.
I don't hear of a lot of auditions, period. You know, almost ever. So you don't get that a lot. So it's really important to, one, start to build your own brand and kind of get your feet wet on your own. But it's really important to build relationships, and not just because you want to work, because a lot of the people that are working, and I'll even say this for myself, a lot of times, especially as creatives, we can tend to be loners sometimes, because we're kind of leery of people always wanting something from us.
Right.
You know, you get to the point where you feel like, you know, some people just want to be your friends because they want to be connected for their own benefit. That's not building a relationship with me. You know, yeah, you know, you network and see how you can work, but that relationship has to be genuine. You have to, and a relationship works two ways. You know, you have to be willing to give as well as to receive. And so if you're only looking to receive, that's not a relationship. We need to be trying to figure out how we can learn each other and get to know each other, and how we can help each other, you know. So building relationships is super key. That's not necessarily about clicks, but know how to build relationships and introduce yourself to people.
I think that's key. I think those are two different things. That and clicks are two totally different things. If you're not building relationships, I don't see how you can be in the industry, to tell you the truth. So again, guys, we are here live on Industry Insiders. We have Miss Jazmin Crumley, vocal coach, vocal director, background vocalist, solo artist. Tell us a little bit about Perfected Me. I love the song. I think it's dope. I love the feel. people seem to love it when I was playing it, and I'll play it again. But tell us a little bit about that process, how you got that going, how you feel about it, blah, 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 all of that.
Okay, so I wrote Perfected Me about, almost 4 years ago now. And briefly, because it could be a long story, but I had gotten to a place where I had really stepped out of the will of God. I had messed up, and I felt like, I'm the good little church girl. That's what everybody knows me as, and I had always kind of been put on this pedestal. Like, my grandparents were the pastors of my church, and I don't know, I was just kind of viewed as like this little angel, but I had to realize and accept the fact that I was a human being. And especially because young and you're growing, you're trying to figure out who you are and what your life is and who needs to be a part of it and who doesn't. And so really I had just stepped right on out of the will of God, and I felt like I could wallow in guilt or I could ask God to forgive me and be free from what I did. And a lot of times, a lot of us, we mess up, we do things that we know we shouldn't do, but we live with the guilt of what we did. And that's not what God wants for us.
Right.
The Bible says if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just to forgive us of our sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. So that means when you repent sincerely from your heart, when you repent and you change, not just you say a prayer and go back to it, but when you are genuinely apologetic and repentant from your heart, God hears that and he'll forgive you, so much so to the point where he'll wipe your slate clean. So anything that you're holding against yourself, God has already forgotten about it. And even a lot of times people might look at you like, oh, I remember what she did, or I remember what he did, and he ain't no good, and he used to be this, and I knew him back when, and people kind of hold you to who you used to be. And you're not that person anymore, because that's not what God sees when he looks at you, and so you can't you can't allow yourself to hold yourself hostage to the mistakes that you've made. And so that's what Perfected Me is all about. It's not about having lived a sinless life, but it's about having sinned and still being seen as perfect in the sight of God, and a lot of people say, well, I ain't never gonna be perfect, or you can't be perfect. This is what I'm going to say. People are going to be mad at me for this, but you have me on here, so I'm going to say,
come on,
what is in me to say.
You at home.
Okay. If you actually kind of research and read and do some reading in the word, and you look up the word perfection, nowhere does it say that nobody can be perfect. In fact, Jesus wasn't even the only perfect man in the Bible. In fact, God called not very many, but a couple of other men perfect, and Jesus himself said, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. Now, I think where we get off is we think that perfection means living this, totally clean life from the day of birth to death. And that's not really what perfection is. Paul said to go on to perfection, which means that you mature, and as you learn, you grow and you do better and you do right now that you know better, and so it doesn't mean never having made a mistake, but it means really just being repentant and going on to do what God wants you to do, so you can be perfect. God can see you as perfect. I might not see you as perfect. Your brother or sister might not see you as perfect. People might see you as whatever, but you can be perfect in the sight of God, and so I count it a blessing to have been forgiven,
And I will say this, listening to the song, maybe I shouldn't say. Well, I'll say this. I'll say that a lot of songs that I hear are sometimes they don't have much substance to them. They don't have much meat. It's just a formula that we have, and when you're in the music industry for a while, you know what the formula is. You know how to brand it, you know how to market it, to just get it out there, put it on iTunes, and make some money. And that's just being real. We know how that works. But when I listen to the song, I listened to it a few times when I was rocking to it. Then I was like, wait. There's like some real meat in the lyrics. You know what I'm saying? Like the lyrics aren't like cookie cutter. The lyrics weren't just like, oh, yo, we need a verse. It wasn't like that. It was like, I'm writing this from my heart, and this is how I feel. You said some real things in there. You really told your story. You told, how you felt, how you wanted to be. Like, I thought it was really dope. And the song is called Perfected Me, y'all. Check that out. I was playing it at the beginning, so if you missed it, you can go back and listen to a little snippet of it. But go get it. It's a really, really great song. And to know that you wrote it 4 years ago is really dope, too. That means it's a great song because it's timeless. So I think that's awesome. Y'all, again, we're on Industry Insiders. I appreciate you all for being here. Again, this is for anybody that wants to be in the music industry in any capacity. Jazmin is amazing. We talked about some amazing stuff. Real quick, I'm going to give you all a chance to throw some questions out there in the comments. And we're going to try to select a few of them. Now, don't be going in. Like, don't go in, please. But
be nice,
throw some
please.
questions out there. Be nice. No, but Jazmin could turn up if she need to. She'll turn up if she need to. But
I mean, I'm generally pretty,
throw some questions.
pretty cool.
Okay, all right.
Oh, that's a good question. You want me to read it?
All right, take it.
Or would you like to read it?
Sure.
Okay, so
go ahead. No,
Katrina, hi Katrina. She says, hi Jazmin, met you in Chicago and Atlanta at both clinics, but do you feel like your location plays a part in what area you want to be in? So basically, does location matter if you want to do music? I'm assuming that's the question.
Great question.
I think location does matter because there are some places where there just is no work. However, and I tell a lot of my clients this who consider moving to Atlanta or LA or that type of thing, build the relationships that you can build, make the connections that you can make where you are. Because if you haven't learned how to establish relationships where you are and you move to a pool like Atlanta or LA or New York, you're going to get lost, because people are out here already doing it and already working. And so you have to be, very sure of yourself, having made all the connections that you can make where you are and really having taken advantage of the tools that you already have access to. Have you already begun to kind of put yourself out there and establish who you are as an artist, as a brand? Have you used social media to your advantage? What kind of things have you already done before you talk about moving from where you are? So do as much as you can with what you have first. So that's what I say to that. But location does matter. Is it getting too dark? Do I need to? Because I was using the natural light.
It's getting a little bit dark.
Okay. Hey. All right. So just take advantage of what you have where you are. So
okay.
I hope that answers the question.
And that was a great question, Katrina. Tons of people think about that. We're in this industry. Where do I want to move? When do I move? Great question.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I'm looking. You can look too, Jazz.
Oh, I see some more. Coco. Hey, Coco. Coco said, how young were you when you first started singing? I do not remember not singing. So I'm going to say I was probably about 2 and in church. when I started singing. My family would teach me songs and things, and then we had like youth services at church, and so like once a month I got to like sing a song, whatever I wanted to do. So I got early exposure to the stage, and I had terrible stage fright when I was a little girl. And even if I got up and I sang my song, I always ran off crying. It was every single time. It never failed. So thank God for coming out of that. But I think I was about 2 when I started. Lamont says, how do you build relationships when you don't come from a background where it's easy to do that and you work a lot? How do you build relationships? So first things first, I would say get out of your house. Go to places where the people are, and they're doing what it is that you want to do. Go to concerts in your area. Go to open mics, jam sessions in your area. Go to where the people are. If you're not sure where those places are, you can ask. And this is the day and age of technology, so you can always look things up, and see what's going on in your area. So see what's going on in your area. Also, again, use social media to your advantage. Even when I was in school, when I was in college, my cord wasn't stacked up. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Even when I was in college, I took a lot of music business classes. And surprisingly, a lot of those music business classes were geared toward or talked a whole lot about social media. And you would think, why does that matter? Why is that important? Listen. Limited to that. Oh, are we connected? It says trying to.
You still there?
Are we good?
I kind of had a bit of a connection problem.
Okay, I think we're good. So you can start building connections on social media. Don't be a bug. Just reaching out to random people trying to put yourself on, but you can't be afraid to put yourself out there. So if you're a singer, get you a very clean video, maybe of you doing a cover song with a guitar, piano, or good track, but do what you can do with what you have and allow people to see that and allow them to want to build connections with you. But
all right,
yeah,
cool question. I have a question from Aaron Hines.
Okay.
Do you feel like there's a such thing as being too transparent in your writing as a gospel artist?
I mean, there's always a such thing as being too transparent,
Right.
But I think the motive is what matters. So the goal is not I didn't write Perfected Me to tell my business. I still didn't tell my business,
Right.
But what I did was I gave the message that if you've messed up, because I have, and if you've messed up like me, you don't have to hold it against yourself because God can forgive you. I didn't go into depth, talking about a bunch of details. That would probably be too transparent. Sometimes people just don't need all the details of your life.
Right.
But, there's a way to share your testimony with people in a way where you can kind of encourage several different people all at one time and still get the message across. Dope. But I do think it is important to be transparent and to be vulnerable so that it doesn't sound like you're putting yourself on this pedestal singing to these people because they need it and not you,
Right.
So yeah.
Dope. I'm going to try to read this one. Miss Hammonds.
Nikki.
Oh, you know Nikki.
I do know Nikki.
Nikki says, I've heard the phrase "you must have a thick skin" multiple times, referring to the music industry. Is that due to undercutting, backstabbing, rejection? How do you maintain your outgoing personality if you have to be guarded at all times? Let me add to that real quick. That's a great question, Nikki. Like, that's
It is.
awesome.
That is really good.
Now, Jazmin, the thing that was like a dope question, for real, for real. the reason I think it's dope is because, I feel like in the music industry, you do have to be guarded, like she said, because you will walk into some situations where you think they're nice, but they will embarrass you in front of everybody, or they will embarrass you in certain situations. So then your mind is like, when you walk into every musical situation, let me be like ready. Hey, what's up, man? Like you got a low key chip on your shoulder because you trying to be like, okay, I'm the best in the room. You know how situations like that can get. I'm the best in the room, or you got like everybody walking in like, yeah, like I got the most swag. Like everybody walking in like that. So how do you, like she said, maintain that bubbly personality, just being nice when there could be some sharks out there? Like, how do you have that balance? And that was a great question, Nikki.
Well, okay. So here's my answer to that. If you're ever with me in a working type of situation, you might not get bubbly. You know, when I'm in work mode, I'm in work mode. That doesn't mean I don't like to laugh and have fun, because I do. I enjoy what I do, and I think it's good to be able to work with people that you can laugh with and have fun with. But I'm probably not going to be bubbly because I'm going to be focused. So that's always my main goal. So if I'm going into a work type situation, the goal is not, yeah, I'm in work mode, you know, so the goal is not to play games and laugh the whole time and come to a party. You know, when you show up to work, it's time to work. But how do you maintain an outgoing or bubbly personality when you pretty much always have to be on guard? Your personality is you. You know, your character is you. Never let anything, any situation, anybody change that, if that's who you are. You know, whether other people are that or not, you know, don't let that change who you are. Always be you. And yeah, you know, some people will try to get over on you. Some people are fickle. Some people, you know, might try to undercut or backstab or anything like that. And you do have to have thick skin. You can't be sensitive. Like, you just can't. You can't be sensitive. If you're sensitive, you probably need to kind of work on that part of yourself before you enter into this industry. Because the first thing you got to know is that everybody is not going to like you.
Exactly.
You know, it just don't happen that way. Everybody is not going to like the music that you put out. You know, my music is not going to be for everybody. And so you have to be okay with that, because you have to know that this is what God gave me to do. And I'm going to do it the way he gave it to me, because there's somebody who needs it just like that. And I'm the only person who has that, you know? And so you have to maintain who you are, and you have to maintain your own spirit. You know, you might not sound like anybody else. And sometimes that comes with insecurity, you know, but you have to understand that God gave me this. And so I have to use it, because me not using it is a slap in his face, you know? So maintain, always be who you are. You know, you don't let people, situations, or people's opinions, or people's lack of support, you know, drive you away from what it is that you're supposed to do. You know, and whether your ministry is for 1 million or 1, do the job.
That reminded me of something that I thought about earlier, just kind of taking us back to what we were talking about when we mentioned the emotional highs and lows of being in the music industry. And you, what did you just mention? You mentioned people support of you that can't push you, or, you know, push you in any kind of way. But just going back to what we talked about before, I had something and I forgot to say it, but I think it's important. I had a friend of mine tell me recently that your joy can't be circumstantial.
Right.
Your joy can't be dependent upon if you have the job or not. Your joy can't be dependent upon if you have the support or not. Your joy, you can't. Is crazy to understand about yourself. You can't think that, okay, I'm only going to be happy when I have certain situations going on for myself. I'm only going to be happy when I've gotten this. I'm only going to be happy when this, because you'll end up never being happy. You'll be unhappy most of the time.
Because you're waiting on something to make you happy.
Right.
It don't
when
work.
You should just be happy. And the thing about that is being in the music industry, and I feel like in whatever you do in the music industry, whether you play, whether you sing, you're a vocal director, you're an artist, whether you are a creative director, whatever you do in the music industry is all entertainment, or a part of entertainment. And I feel like your creative space is important. So if you are unhappy all the time, I don't know, unless you just one of those artists that you can write songs from your pain. I don't know how you're gonna do well, because your mental and your creative space is very important. So if you're not happy, you got to figure that out. You got to go somewhere where you can get inspiration. If you got to take a day trip to the park, if you got to go to the water park this summer, go to Six Flags, do something to make yourself optimistic, because being in the music industry or even trying to advance yourself, you have to really, really take care of your creative space. I know myself, if I'm not okay, music is not happening. Like, no arranging is getting done. Like, I will say this: if you're working and you're in a working situation, you have to do it. So you do it, but it's not your best. So I think I just wanted to go back to that and say that your joy should never be circumstantial, and based upon what's going on.
And happiness is a choice. You know, I said it earlier. We are not what we do. You know, I'm me first. You know, before I'm a singer, before I'm a vocal coach, before I'm a vocal arranger, producer, whatever, I'm me. You know, and so I have to be content with who I am, you know, in order to be happy. But happiness is what you choose to be when you wake up in the morning, just because you woke up in the morning, you know. It has nothing to do. There are billionaires all over the world with no joy and no happiness, and you feel like, if I could just get my hands on some money, I would be all right. You know, but it doesn't work like that. You got to decide, I'm going to be happy because God gave me another day of life. Your happiness is up to you. And if you're around people that are not feeding a positive spirit, that are not feeding your happiness, that are not feeding the God in you, then you need to remove yourself from that situation, you know, and go to where you belong, where people can encourage you, uplift you, and inspire you. A lot of times the company we keep is the reason why we're not happy. You know, we need to keep happy people around us, you know.
Simone Wright has a great question. Simone Wright is from my area as well.
Hey, Simone.
And she said, she's really dope, man. You gotta check her out.
Oh, sweet.
And check her out. She said, what's some necessary to-dos for a person putting out their first single?
Girl. Ooh. I guess it depends on, I mean, that's kind of broad, but it depends on what aspects you mean that from. Okay, I'll go back to this. We talked about like social media, that type of thing. I just put out my first single about 6 weeks ago, but that wasn't the first time people heard my voice. You know, that wasn't the first time people heard me recorded or anything like that. So I would say, even before you put out the single, start to work on your supporters, your fan base. Start putting yourself out there, so that there are people who know that you're there and can support when you decide to release your first single, you know. So
Right.
start to build an audience and a group of supporters so that when you do release it, it can be beneficial for you. Two, when you do decide to put out your first single, you know, this is people's first impression of you as an artist, you know. And so if you're going to do it right, you know, make sure it's a good representation of who you are as a person and as an artist. Make sure you want it to say, because people are going to associate that with you for a very long time, you know. And I was skeptical about the song that I put out, because I felt like, well, people are only going to think that I do or can do ballads or, you know, something like that. Or, but I felt like that's what God wanted me to put out. And so maybe if I put something else out later, it'll probably sound totally different. Because that's just me. Like, part of the reason I enjoy background singing is because I get to sound like almost anything, you know. And so make sure it's a good representation of who you are, and that you invest your time and your coins. Save your coins, you know, because it can be a great song, but if the mix is terrible, nobody cares. That's really harsh, isn't it? Yeah, but I mean it. You know, it could be a great song, but if the mix is bad, we can't even get to the song for the bad mix, you know. Or if the
You better
vocals are
drop that
not
bag on
clean.
that mix. If anything, drop the
Yeah,
bag
you
on the
know,
mix.
if we hear music and not you, you know, what good is it? We're missing the lyrics, so we don't know what you're trying to say. You know, if the background vocals are buried to the point where, you know, we don't know what's going on, what good is it? You know. So make sure, if you need to do some vocal training before you record it, or, you know, you've always sang live but you've never worked in a studio, get studio experience. It's totally different from being on the stage, you know. So cultivate your gift first. Make sure that that's what you're ready to do, and then you do it, you know.
Now, question: that person is now. Say we have a person who is cultivating and kind of went through the correct routes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it more important to focus on the actual release, or is it more important to focus on post release? Because I feel like we have so many people who hype up the release so much, they release it, and then after that, you like, where they go? Where they at? What happened?
Depends on
No
that's
videos,
on you.
no.
You know, it depends on what your goal is. It depends on, like, I put my song out there because I felt like this is what God wanted me to say. In fact, when I wrote the song, I never intended for anybody to hear it, ever. I wrote it for me, you know. But when I felt like it was time for me to put it out there, that's what I did, you know. And I wasn't really trying to, like, go to radio or anything like that. You know, it was just kind of like, God, whatever you want to do with it, you know, you do it. And so it just kind of depends on, and thankfully people have been playing it, and, you know, I'm very, very grateful for the support that it got, you know. But it really just depends on you. I say focus on pre-release so that people will know about it, you know. Maybe even make it available for pre-order if you want to do something like that, like I did. And focus on the post, you know. Some people might not get it the first time, so that's your product, that's your brand. You're allowed to push it as much as you want to, or not. But don't be
True.
mad if nobody knows about it and you didn't do the work.
That's true. That is definitely true.
Yeah.
Jazmin, you have any closing thoughts or anything that we can just take overall, just from Jazmin Crumley? What's your last words?
I hope that was helpful to somebody. But do you, be you, and find out, you know, I know everybody's not a Christian, you know, everybody don't, you know, I get that. But I'm gonna always say, bye, Candace. I'm gonna always say, to really, really seek God for what it is that you're supposed to be doing. You know, because your calling might not be my calling. Oh, y'all so sweet. What God called me to do, he might not have called you to do. He might have called you to go much farther than me, you know, and so you can't look at what I'm doing thinking, oh, I want to have her life. You know, God might have way more for you, you know, than what I'm doing right now. And so get to God and figure out what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And with the song, I hope the song really encourages somebody to be free, you know, totally free from what it is that they've done, what it is that they've been through, or whatever people said about you that, you know, you didn't like or you felt was not in your favor. You can be free from all of that, you know. You're who God called you to be, you know, so you can walk in that, you know. Hey, Philip. Right. So just
dope.
Be free in God and be free to do you.
Be free in God and be free to do you. I appreciate those words. I appreciate everything you said tonight. Again, you all, this is Industry Insiders. We're about to wrap it up. If you have any friends that want to be in the music industry in any capacity, go ahead and share this to them. Let them know to watch it. If you want to get some things that we missed, go ahead and watch it again. And again, thank you, Jazmin, for joining us. I think I may be in Atlanta in a little while. Man, it'd be dope to hang out, just chill or whatever. But it was really, really cool talking. Really good talking. You all go make sure you check her social media out. She's a vocal coach. She does background work. She has a single out right now that's playing. I actually have it playing. Very, very dope stuff. But again, thank you for coming. Have a great night.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciated it. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you missed something, go back and watch it from the top. But thank you, Malachi. I really appreciate it. See ya.
Dope. Y'all take care.